everybody, and welcome to a special edition of Wrestling Sheet Radio. I'm your host, ProWrestlingSheet.com, Editor-in-Chief Ryan Satin, here with a special guest, Jennifer Decker, and today we're going to be talking about Double or Nothing. No, you were there.
I was there.
You were there.
My God.
Were you in the crowd for the whole show, or were you backstage for some of it?
I lucked out, and I got fifth row seats, like on the side with the hard cameras, and oh my God, I was losing my mind. I'm still, even when I'm working around it, I'm still a fan of the business, regardless.
Yes.
So it's hard to check that fan side sometimes. But yeah, I lost my mind just like everyone else did at certain moments of the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I had the same issue sometimes because my job is technically to find things out that are going on, but when I'm gonna go to a show,
you get giddy about it.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily want to spoil the surprises that I'm paying money to see technically, so I get surprised just like a fan too. Like, I didn't know for sure that Moxley was gonna be there.
We were all hoping, I think, but that there were gonna be one or two surprises. I thought Awesome Kong was an amazing surprise.
Such a good surprise.
I'm torn between that and Mox because I'm such a huge fan of hers as well, and I just thought that it elevated the women's match to a whole new level. Having her there, and just the Tower of Terror was amazing. I'm still just in awe of how well those women's matches came off.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Awesome Kong was definitely a cool surprise. A lot of people,
the pop it got though, I just remember being like, oh wow, this feel like there were just moments in that arena that I don't care where you were sitting, you got goosebumps.
Absolutely.
And that was one of those, especially. And then when Mox came out, and I just remember frantically searching the crowd 5 tequilas deep to see where he was coming out of. And I was just like, losing. You can hear it on my Instagram story, me just losing my mind. And that's the part of me that's still just a diehard fan. When it's done well, pro wrestling is one of the most amazing things to watch out there, but when it's not done well, which we can get into about last night if you feel like it, it's just really disappointing.
Yes, absolutely. One of my first weeks here, I went on Collider Live and I tried to explain that concept to them of dude, when pro wrestling is awesome, it's the best form of entertainment.
I liken it a lot too when I try to explain NASCAR to my friends. I'm like, you don't get it. If you're not there and you've never been to an event live, you won't understand the phenomenon. But if you go to an event live, I've taken friends of mine that were not fans of wrestling to live wrestling events, specifically to All In or to Double or Nothing, and I was like, I don't think you realize, one, how lucky you are to even be here right now.
Totally.
And two, the treat you are in for. And when we walked away from All In, they were just all like, holy crap, I get it.
Yep.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah, that's like me with PWG for a long time out here, where I would somebody, WWE, it's so children programming, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, just come with me to this other show. I'm going to take you to something. If you don't like that, I guarantee you'll like this. And I would take them to PWG, and every person I've ever taken to PWG walks away like, whoa, wrestling is awesome. This is so cool.
It just goes to show you that there's different kinds of wrestling, though, out there, and there's a little something for everyone.
Absolutely.
If you're into that corporate cookie cutter stuff, we got that for you. If you're into some out-of-the-box thinking type stuff and actual storytelling, we got that as well, And then if you want some silly stuff, there's shows like that going on down the street in Burbank right now,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Overall,
some of those cards that I see, some of my friends posting the flyers for, I'm like, that's such an absurd concept, but I'll still go just to see what happens.
Like Brian Kendrick's wrestling, pro wrestling and stuff like that, where it's these weird things that you're like, what is this? But I love them, but they're still so weird.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, it's a BYOB and you're going to enjoy yourself. Or, Joey Ryan's bar wrestling. You just can't. I can't get enough of it as a fan.
I know you're a Joey Ryan fan like myself. Were you bummed that he wasn't on the show at all in some capacity?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, anytime you can have Joey Ryan on, it's going to elevate the comedy of it. And I mean, he's a phenomenal wrestler as well. So it's people can have their opinions about him, but I'm a huge fan. So not seeing him be a surprise entrant. I'd already seen his schedule though, so I had a feeling he wasn't going to be there.
Me too.
I didn't feel like he was going to get the Chris Jericho treatment where they were going to fly him in a private jet.
No,
we're not there yet.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yes, sadly.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm like, yeah, I really. Oh, of course, I would have loved to. I mean, the Penis Druids was by far one of my favorite moments of All In, and All In was a spectacular event in itself. So it's like, I still think I would really like to see Super Smash Brothers. take on the Penis Druids. I feel like that would be such a great match.
I saw that on Twitter afterwards, and I was like, "Oh, I'm all in on this." The Super Smash Brothers Druids versus the Penis Druids.
Exactly. Book it in August, please. Make it happen. I just want to see a dick go over the top rope. Are we allowed to say that on the show?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay,
don't worry. Oh man, I didn't even think about it of the Penis Druids like being the ones to come, like Joey Ryan being the one to stop the Super Smash Brothers with his new blonde tag team partner down the line would be a good thing I'd like to see for sure.
Yeah, but the Penis Druids, honestly.
Penis Druids are the best. I miss the Penis Druids.
I just wonder if they have the moves. That's all I want to know.
I kind of felt like, and we'll get into the whole show.
Don't pretend you don't want to see them try to do a 619. Like just whip it around. Like, by God, he just took one out with his left testicle.
Yeah, honestly, I wanted to see the Penis Druids more so because I just wanted to see Jim Ross's reaction to them.
Oh my God.
I couldn't even imagine how he would have.
What in the name of sweet baby Jesus?
He's beating that penis like a government mule, you know?
Oh my God.
So overall, we'll get through each point, but overall, what you like the show as a whole?
Absolutely.
Happy with it?
Yeah, and I mean that's not me being a homer. That's me just saying it was good storytelling. It was some of the best storytelling I think I've seen in pro wrestling in a long time.
Yeah, my girlfriend, she was with me at the show. Well, not with me. She had much better seats than me. So I gave her I had 2 seats and they were in different spots. I gave her the good seats, but she said it was the best pay-per-view she'd ever been to. She best one I'd ever made her watch. We've been together a good few years now. Best one she'd ever watched. But I thought it was pretty cool because she's not like she likes wrestling, but she's not the diehard wrestling fan. So it's cool to see someone who is more of a casual fan, more hardcore than casual. But it's cool to see people saying that kind of thing about first pay-per-view for an event.
Oh yeah, and I think that this is just, if this is where they're starting, it's only going to go up.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to raise the bar every single time because they have made it very clear, the Elite have made it very clear that they're answering to fans, and that they are catering to fans. And you could even tell that in a lot of the guys that they brought in for the Rumble. I was watching their scrum interviews, and you could hear the same kind of echoing where it's like, I want to give the fans what they want so badly.
Yep.
Because that's who our boss is.
Yeah, totally.
If without that, it's like the same thing with anyone that has shows on the internet. It's like without people watching, this doesn't exist. It's just 2 of us sitting in an empty warehouse. It's just someone sitting in basements. You know what I mean? Like, that's totally what the internet is.
And I liken it to Endgame. Endgame was like, a lot of people said, oh, it was too much
a lot of fan service.
But
yes.
like, that's what the fans who had spent 11 years watching all these movies wanted. We wanted to see these moments. It wasn't like, oh, it's so predictable. No, it's cool. Like,
those are the moments that you heard everyone go, oh, or like, yes, or it's like, the stuff. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a lot of times I feel like when I am watching WWE, I sometimes feel like they're trying too hard to give you they're trying too hard to make something happen that's unexpected. Yeah. But in doing that, they don't give you what you want a lot of the time.
You aren't going to, you know what it is? It's authenticity. Mm-hmm. And I've always been a big proponent of that in my career because I found in moments when I was having to play it safe or in moments where I was having to stick too much to a corporate script, I wasn't being myself, and it came off super phony, or it came off as disingenuous, and I feel like that's not how you win fans over,
Nope.
So I understand, and honestly, like with what happened last night with Sami Zayn, I was just like, I get what you're going for. It's not how that's going to play out, and it's like you have to. I mean, it's like they were hoping it would go one way, and it totally backfired, which is why they ended up editing it out.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, if anything, they just bump traffic and awareness for AEW.
There's no such thing as bad press. I feel like, but like they took the approach of we have to acknowledge what happened, which is smart from any publicist would say we have to get out in front of it. We have to do this from a PR standpoint. They were doing the right thing. They just didn't go about it the right way. And there was no way that was gonna pay off. But I think editing it out shows you're scared.
Absolutely. It's like, first it looked gotten to, and then it looks scared. You're like, it's like, it looks like a scramble when you do something like that.
Exactly.
And I've been told by sources that it was scripted for him to do. It wasn't like
100% that was scripted.
I know, obviously.
If you don't think that was the work, you're drunk.
I know.
You're still drunk from this weekend.
I was shocked when I saw people.
I barely have a voice, by the way.
It's okay.
I'm sorry I sound like a dude.
I'm right there with you. Well, I always sound like a dude, but my voice is also gone.
I lost my vocal umbilical cord somewhere during the Lucha Brothers Young Bucks match.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I lost it probably during Dustin and Cody too, because it was just intense, that match. That was a lot of yelling, and when I came back home, I had to pick up my dogs from my girlfriend's house, and my girlfriend's dad said the same thing. He's like, "Your voice is gone, dude. Like, you can't even talk right now."
Oh, yeah.
And that's not normally me.
My ears are still ringing from Pyro. I mean, couldn't be happier.
Oh, Pyro's the best. It was so good going to a wrestling show and seeing Pyro again. I miss Pyro. I feel like it's only a matter of time before WWE follows suit and brings Pyro back too.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it just takes everything to a whole new level. I was just wondering the whole time, though, they were singing the national anthem. It went off. I'm like, I hope to God they told them that those were going off in the middle of the anthem. Otherwise, they're just scared the crap out of that little girl. But everything from top to bottom, even down to the anthem, it just all felt special. And like, that's the kind of events that you want to go to. And honestly, it's why I would work for free if they would just have me around all the time, because it just feels special. You feel like you're doing something special.
Yeah, I was there for the weigh-in.
Don't tell them that I said that.
I won't. Nobody show this to Tony Khan. You don't want that word out there. But
no.
You guys did do a good job at the weigh-in.
And even that, it's like down to the last minute. There's changes being made, and there's things being added, things being subtracted. And you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants. And I feel like that's something that I'll get better at. You know, the more time I spend around the industry and things like that, because it's different. It's different than covering actual, like sports, like MMA, like I do. I want to approach it differently. I want to have more fun with it, because that's the vibe that the guys bring.
Yes.
Like, the minute you get around them, you just feel like you're around family, and I think everyone kind of echoes that sentiment, where it just feels like a really positive work environment, and it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
That's the real tricky part. So
that's when it's awesome to be working.
Absolutely. When it doesn't feel like work. That's like Shivani giving me his email, and I'm like, I know who you are. Just give me your email address. He was like spelling it for me. I'm like, I got this.
I can Google Shivani.
Working with him and his son was fantastic. They're both super nice guys. Someone who I was really, really humbled to meet was actually Dustin Rhodes, because I hadn't met him before in person. We had just kind of, been Twitter buddies or whatever. Like, he liked my stuff. I'd retweet his stuff, leading up to Double or Nothing. And yeah, I met him, and it's just, he could not be a nicer person. And you're just like, oh. You're seeing him take color, and you're just like, oh, no, don't do that. You're such a nice guy. Don't do
Well, let's get into all those matches, because there is a lot to get into, and I don't know how much time I have here. So I will.
Sorry.
No, it's not on you. I'm a chatty person, so it's more on me. I'll start going off if I don't get myself on track. So let's go to the first match. SCU, Christopher Daniels, obviously, Frank Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky against Shima, T-Hawk, and El Lindaman. SCU won with the best Meltzer driver. No comment on Meltzer, obviously, from you. But what'd you think of the first match? Do you think it was a good way to kick off the show?
Absolutely. I think it was a wonderful showcase for the guys. I always love seeing... I've known Sky for a long time, and so I always love seeing him have those moments. And he had some wonderful moments in that match.
Yes.
Felt almost kind of like featured in certain ways. And yeah, from top to bottom, like that match was just really well executed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, one of the things I felt like they needed to accomplish AEW on this show was presenting an alternative, like something that's different than what you see on WWE TV. And obviously you're watching wrestling, so it's not going to be that much different, but you can change your style and the way the match goes and all that kind of stuff. And I felt like this was definitely a good start to the pay-per-view, because it really was different than the kind of stuff you see in WWE. You had 3 international talents from China who have never really been showcased on an international stage. You had SCU there who have been, at least Frank Kazarian and Christopher Daniels have been on TV before, with Impact and stuff. But I think that
and Sky's had time with Ring of Honor and things like that.
Yeah, but I think that Impact, when it was on Spike, had a bigger awareness than Ring of Honor has ever had, and they were there during that
Sadly.
time. Yeah. Totally. And I think that Scorpio Sky was featured in this match, and I think that was important. I think that one of the messages they want to show is, inclusivity and diversity and stuff like that. And Scorpio Sky was given a huge opportunity here. He did a lot in the match and really got to showcase his skill in a way that I don't feel like he's really gotten to do on a big stage like this before.
No, you're absolutely right. And you saw little bits of it at All In, and then just this time at Double or Nothing, it just felt like everything felt like it was taken to the next level.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great way of wording it. And I think that, with the OWE talent, as much as I liked them, I do hope that we get to see more of the smaller guys that are in OWE, because these guys they're three bigger, like, size-wise, they're bigger guys, and at least comparatively to SCU. And so I would like to see more of the different style they have, because I've watched their TV show. It is way different than what you see in wrestling. It honestly looks like stunt guys. They're like doing all this weird flippy stuff, and it's real colorful, and it's pretty wild. Now, granted, we already had that with the women's match later, so I think that's maybe why they didn't use some of the more colorful Chinese talent. But I think that at the end of the day, I mean, they gave them a lot of time. They gave them cool moments. I think that the OWE guys did stand out, and so
I really enjoyed at the end that it was approached more from a mutual respect standpoint. That was something that was different at the end of that match, versus a lot of other places that you see.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like
it felt like competition.
Yes, it very much did feel like competition.
You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. This did help kind of drive home the sports element that they want to get across. I mean, the whole show really did that in the fact that they didn't have any dirty finishes the whole show. There wasn't one to my right. There wasn't. Yeah, they were all clean finishes. And the sports element was very present here right from the start. It was there for the pre-show too. I think that everyone kind of expected Adam Page to win the Battle Royal, and same with. I don't think everyone expected Kip Sabian to win, but I think that they did a good job of showcasing the sports element for sure.
Absolutely.
Right up top. Okay, so you really liked the women's match. Next up was Awesome Kong, Britt Baker versus Nyla Rose versus Kylie Rae. Tell me what you liked about it.
That Tower of Terror, it literally took my breath away. I went, oh no! And I literally just kind of held my breath, and I was like, oh. And I just remember holding my camera, just like, I have to get this on camera. Instagram video, please don't run out. Like, don't accidentally delete this 2 tequilas deep. And it was phenomenal, honestly. The women's matches just keep elevating themselves every time. I mean, Britt Baker, it was great to see her back. I hadn't seen Nyla Rose or Kylie Rae in person before.
Neither had I.
So both phenomenal. Really impressed by Kylie Rae's athleticism. I mean, God, she's jacked, first of all.
Yeah, she is.
And again, meeting her at the presser, nicest human being you've ever met, ever.
She seems very nice.
So when we had a chance when they were like, yeah, some fans want to, a guy wants to ask his girlfriend to marry him at the presser. And I'm like, Cody's like, we have to give this to Kylie Rae. He's like, it's just her, it's just her thing, Who better to bring happiness than Kylie Rae? And she was just such a sweetheart about it.
My girlfriend gets so mad when she sees those proposals.
She was but Kylie Rae was so genuinely excited and like nervous.
Was the girl genuinely excited to get proposed to there?
Yes, she was.
She was?
Oh my God, that girl was marking out so hard.
I didn't see it. I only saw the picture afterwards.
Oh no. She says, of fucking course, yes. That's how you answer. Like, that's how she answered it. And the whole crowd was cheering, yes, 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 yeah. I mean, granted, it put her on the spot once they started doing that. But
you can't really say no when the whole crowd's chanting yes at you.
No, not really. But it was so great. It was really special. And they'll always have that footage, which is really cool.
Fair enough. My girl, it's more of a person kind
you
of
either
thing.
love
Obviously, if your girlfriend loves wrestling, if your girlfriend
loves sporting event proposals, or you think they're terrible.
Yeah, my girlfriend's always been in, like, if you tried something like that to me, I would say no and not give you another chance.
My husband proposed on a cliff, so I was like, well, you had an exit strategy if this didn't go your way, so I can appreciate that. Yeah, at least you didn't do it at a baseball game,
That would have been a little bit too right on the money.
Right after the the mascot race. Please don't do that.
The 7th inning stretch and then a proposal.
Exactly.
So if I'm going to nitpick in this match, and I'll nitpick a little bit here, but First of all, I loved the Awesome Kong surprise. Like
Who
we said at the
doesn't?
beginning, I was a huge Awesome Kong fan in TNA, in her short stint in WWE. I thought she was awesome there, even though it was very, very short.
Yeah.
And I'm just like a huge mark for Awesome Kong. And, you know, I've been shocked that with her becoming such a big thing with Glow, that she hasn't been brought back to wrestling really. And I know that she's busy, obviously, shooting the show, but you know, when they had like Evolution and stuff like that, I kind of expected them to kind of bring her back for a short little thing, and it never happened. So I'm glad that she got some shine here. I think that because people were expecting Moxley or a CM Punk or something at the end.
She was a complete surprise. There were things that were complete surprises. I feel like she was one. I feel like Bret Hart was another.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was just those moments were those holy shit moments where everyone around me was just like, and then the holy shit chant started,
Yes.
obviously.
Even when Brandy, because first when Brandy came out, I thought she was putting herself in the match, and I was like, this is probably not a good call. Not because I don't think Brandy's a good wrestler,
Yeah.
but more because I was like, it's gonna look like Stephanie McMahon, like that's what Stephanie McMahon
Yeah.
would do, you know. And they have the same
I think
title.
Brandy's taking a completely different approach.
That's
and
why I got nervous at
and
first.
I like it.
Me too. And that's why I was like, oh, she's just gonna do like what they do. Like this is not different. And it's only the second match. Like shit. And then when she did that, I was like, oh, that's so much better. That's such a better way of going with this. And then I don't know if it was shown on TV, but you know, it looks like Awesome Kong and Brandy are going to be affiliated in some way going forward because they kind of like walked out together after the match and stuff. But my only nitpicky thing I was going to say is I would have liked to have seen Awesome Kong used a little more in the match. I felt like, and granted, I know that she hasn't wrestled in like I think it was like 2017 was her last match. But I just felt like I would have liked to have seen a little bit more because people were so hyped. She was only in the match for a short amount of time.
The spots that they used her on were the important ones.
True.
You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
they were the ones that people are going to remember. Case in point, like what I've been saying.
Yeah.
You know, with the tower
tower,
chair. That's what I think that they needed her for. And honestly, just to lend even more credibility to names that people may not be as familiar with. You know, like I said, I was familiar with Britt Baker, but I wasn't as familiar with Nyla or Kylie. And now I am. And I feel like she Kong came out there and she put them over in a really great way.
Yeah. And that's the only other thing that I was going to say is that if she wasn't going to be used in the match as much, I think it would have been more beneficial to have Britt pin her. Even if it was like a roll-up surprise kind of pin. Not like a dirty victory or anything like that, but just a surprise roll-up. And then you could have built to Awesome Kong versus Britt Baker at another show down the line. That was my only nitpick because I feel like because there's people like you and people like me who weren't as familiar with Kylie and Nyla going into the match, I feel like the victory over Kylie wasn't like as meaningful for the women on the show. Like I feel like you knew Britt Baker was probably going to win the match, and it wasn't like, okay, that makes sense. I would have liked to have seen just, I don't know, like something that made you want to see the women wrestling more afterwards.
I didn't know that she was going to win. I just, like I said, I'm more familiar with her work, so.
Well, that's why, because they seem like they're similar to Adam Page. They're very much like, it seems like Britt Baker and Adam Page are like their two young talents they want to get behind, right?
Yeah, I can see that. I
Yeah.
can definitely see that.
So that's the only reason I assumed she was going to win, because they've like since she was the first female.
Thank God
they
you weren't
announced.
sitting next to me. I couldn't handle these spoilers.
Well, I didn't tell. Well,
Don't be that cynical guy.
You know what's funny is I was sitting in the media section for wrestling media, and as you probably know, wrestling media can be a little nitpicky.
Oh yeah.
So it was funny. It was like being inside of wrestling Twitter in person, because I was just hearing little nitpicky things around me being said, and I was like, guys, those aren't that important
where
things.
are their mute buttons in person? I'm just trying to enjoy this match. There was a guy like that was sitting in front of me, and he just kept getting progressively drunker and more obnoxious with his wrestling Twitter. And finally, I was just like, "Yep, wasn't funny the first 4 times you said that joke." And the guys next to me were like, "Thank God, like you're speaking, like you're finally getting him to quiet down a little bit."
That's like my best friend Kevin at shows. He's the one who like at
Be
number
a
4,
cool
he's
fan.
over it.
Like if you're gonna go to a live event, remember that there's people around you that are also experiencing it, and don't be a dick.
That's very good advice right there. I think that, and I don't want all the media section to think I wanted to mute all of them. It was more little things
Just like
that in
2
my
of
head.
you. 2 of you were terrible. No, I'm joking. I have no idea because I wasn't there.
But it was more like there were little things that they were like, well, where's the commentary booth? Where is it? And I was like, who cares where the commentary
They
desk
were actually
is?
they were up in the corner.
We all spotted it eventually because
Exactly.
they wouldn't stop talking about it. But I was
Yeah.
like thinking like, guys, we're here live. We can't even hear commentary.
No.
And
that was the one thing that I'm disappointed about, because I've grown up listening to JR, and so not being able to hear him call, I would like to rewatch it back and see.
I did today. Some of it.
Really?
Some of it.
I would like to rewatch it back, and I would love to hear, Jim Ross call it. I would love to hear how he and Excalibur worked together. I was really curious about that. And of course, Alex.
I can answer your question there, because I for that reason, I was like, I should probably go back and watch a couple of these so I can hear. I think that JR and Excalibur had awesome chemistry together.
That's the thing. Chemistry is built over time.
Yes.
And I know that that's something that they've been working on behind the scenes, as I've watched on the Road to Double or Nothing. And I think they may have shown a little bit on Being the Elite.
Yeah, they were doing like a little... They had like
a dress rehearsal.
Yeah, they had like a rehearsal thing, yeah.
And it's, just calling any kind of matches together. It's just building a rapport. Some people you either have instant chemistry with, and other people it just takes time and getting to know each other's rhythm and flow and how you work. And I'm sure with actually wrestling, it's the exact same way. It's like you just sometimes it just feels more natural than others, you know. And I think
with Excalibur, he usually sometimes has to do it alone. So he's really good at like knowing. I think that they meshed well together, because he's like pumped to have someone who's at his level when he normally has to do it alone, or there's like a wrestler that sits beside him. Like, this is another professional who knows what he's doing. And, people love Excalibur on commentary at PWG. Similarly, since I'm always there, I never get to hear him on commentary. So this was really, besides All In, one of the only times I'd heard him do commentary. And he killed it. Like it was great, because it was like, Jim Ross's voice is so iconic.
And he brings a level of credibility to it.
Absolutely.
Honestly.
And I think that because he's not as ingrained in like that indie wrestling culture,
that's going to take time.
It's going to take time. And Excalibur is so ingrained in that Jim wasn't really dropping knowledge as much as lending credibility to the broadcast. Yes. And Excalibur was coming in there with knowledge about all these people. I mean, he's like the biggest wrestling fan. He knows everyone. He knows everything. And so it really did help with that. Marvez, like you said, it takes some time to find.
And a three-man desk is hard.
It's like Renee. Renee has trouble finding like when she can jump in.
You have to find those moments.
Yes.
And it's hard. When I've worked on any kind of panel show, it's like I know that if I was the one to, like, they would direct traffic sometimes in your ear, and it's like sometimes if I was the last person they'd get to, it's like, well, yeah, but these three dudes, like, they all just took my points. Like, what do you want me to do? Yeah. Like, make a joke? Like, I just, like, it's trying to find what you bring to the broadcast that's different than everyone else.
Yes.
Like, what is your angle to come into that thing? And that's the same thing that I did even when I was preparing for the roast, is I'm like, what makes my perspective and my point of view different from everyone else that's going to be here making the same jokes about the same people? Like, how is my perspective different?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is where Alex needs to kind of find his groove right now, because I don't want to say he was like bad or anything like that, because like you said, it's like,
and
it's
one of the nicest
hard.
humans ever. We spoke before the weigh-in, and he was asking me just how I wanted to be introduced and like a little bit about my background, because we knew him through mutual friends, but like I didn't know him that well, and just super nice, and was like, oh my god, I had no idea that we had all these little things in common. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I wasn't really familiar with him prior to him joining All Elite Wrestling or anything like that, but I mean, he seems to be very well liked by everyone and has a solid pedigree, and so I have faith that he will find his position in that desk.
It's all about just finding the rhythm and finding the flow, and the more people that are at the desk, the more crowded it's going to feel, and you got to learn how to get in and pick your spots. It's kind of like being in a rumble.
Very much so.
It's like being in a rumble with words. You have to like find your moments. You know what I mean?
I feel like, and I know you said he's a very nice guy, but I feel like he could be used best if he becomes the heel commentary guy a little bit. I mean,
and let's be real, being bad is more fun.
Totally. And that was really one of the things I noticed that was lacking of like the guy who defends the bad guys. I personally, I like those commentary guys. Like I love Corey Graves. Corey Graves is great. 'Cause everything he says is like so contradictory, and you're like, that guy's an asshole, and that's why he's awesome. I love it. He's like the best. And so I feel like Alex could definitely. That was the one thing I thought was missing from commentary, was like the guy defending the bad guys. But overall, they
he's not a bad guy. He's just a bad guy. Yeah, that's exactly what they could use. And maybe that's something that they'll develop down the road. It's all going to be watching it grow, and that's kind of cool that we're getting to see it, in real time.
Absolutely. I mean, it's fun to think about, and I think this is how they're gaining this following is. is the idea of like, oh, this is really cool that if this becomes WWE in 30 years, we were at the first events. Like,
Yeah,
I
was there.
I was there.
I was there. That's a really cool thing.
Yeah, I mean,
know?
I even bought the shirt that said something along those lines because I was like, oh, Pro Wrestling Tees, when after All In, it was like that's how they sold it. Of like, don't you want to have the shirt that says like you were there if this is big in 30 years?
Yeah.
It's like I remember
Good point.
I wrote Ryan.
Fantastic
at Pro Wrestling
marketing,
Tees.
Ryan.
That's what I said. I wrote Ryan. I was like, this is the best marketing you have ever done.
I had some of the best shirts. They, I wanted to make sure that I was suited up for the entire weekend. So basically my entire suitcase was like, I had a going out dress, I had a nice outfit for the weigh-in, and then I had nothing but Pro Wrestling Tees. So it was like my Kenny Omega shirt, and they all have like the sleeves cut off because I'm like a small human.
Yes.
So I need everything to be small and like sort of fitted. So
my girlfriend's the same way. I just give her my leftover
I really
shirts.
feel like it adds something, honestly.
It's tough to do that though.
Yeah.
I mean, I've tried to cut sleeves off for myself, can't do it, and then my girlfriend, like, I know she is very focused.
It's so funny though, because I would get a lot of crap. They're like, Jen, what are you doing? Why are you wearing all of this merch? And I'm like, because I'm a fan. At the end of the day, I'm still a fan. I still love it. Like, this is my buddy Sean's shirt.
Nice.
Shout out Sean Spears. Thanks for the shirt. Yeah, he was one of the ones that I was really excited to see get a shot.
He did good. He was fun, even though it was short. It was
short.
Fun.
That was the one complaint I had. Is I was like, yeah, you really got in there and did your work, and got out fast, like. Yeah. I'm like, was the cardio not up from all of the months of being off?
You had a few months to chill. Dude.
Exactly. Oh, but yeah, I'm
the same
really
way with shirts, and it's weird. I like that I get a nice. Whole, like, I get a nod. I get a nod from guys at my gym though. I get a lot of respect. Like that's when you know that you're running into real wrestling fans is when you get a random nod from a dude on the street, like. Or if they throw you a too sweet. Yeah, when you're in the Bullet Club, you always got to go and see a Bullet Club shirt out in public.
I had a guy in a haunted house one time at Halloween Horror Nights. I was an Ash versus the Evil Dead house. Mm-hmm. Ash stopped fighting all of the undead to give me a too sweet because I had a Bullet Club shirt on walking through the house. And I was just like, respect. Who knew Ash was such a huge Bullet Club fan?
Yeah, it's funny with the wrestling shirt thing because a lot of times the wrestlers are like, "Oh, you're a mark if you wear the shirts," but I'm just trying to support.
I'm just trying to support.
So it's like it throws me off.
I helped buy Joey Ryan's house. Damn it! And like, calm down.
Also, how funny was it walking around Vegas? Because I mean, it was Memorial Day weekend, so it was a big weekend in Vegas.
Oh, big weekend. There was a ton of different events going on, but we would all kind of like. Doctor. Like we would all just kind of give each other the nod, like, oh, you're one of us. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, you're not here for the Sephora conference? Cool. Good. Yeah, no, it was funny seeing the like mix of like dresses and wrestling shirts on Saturday night. It was a fun mix of everything.
It was great.
But yeah, it was a lot of merch being sold over that week. Those lines were big at Double or Nothing. Yeah. The lines were big for the merch. All right, so the next match, before I get too off track, we had Jack Evans and Angelico versus Best Friends, Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor. Best Friends won clean, like everyone else. And then the Super Smash Bros. Attacked afterwards. Yeah. Super Smash Bros. Not as known.
Huge nod to indie wrestling fans.
Absolutely.
But for the people, it's so weird because with having Chris Jericho and, names that a lot of people in the mainstream recognize from WWE, there's going to be like those surprises that like are there just for the indie fans. Yes. And I feel like they were one of them.
Absolutely.
And so when some of the crowd was like, who are you? I'm like, shut up. Like, get with it. Watch the internet,
Also, like, they were teased on one of the things. I was surprised. It was a quick tease, but they did tease Super Smash Bros. On one of the Being the Elite episodes. So I was like, don't you guys watch Being the Elite? They were teased briefly. But you're right, 100% that these guys were definitely for the indie guys who were there, the people who watch PWG and all that kind of stuff. And Young Bucks and Super Smash Bros. Have had great matches together. So me personally, I was pumped. I was like, yes. Super Smash Bros. I haven't seen a bunch of them live, but I saw Numero Dos multiple times live. I think he's great. And so I personally was pumped. I think that
the only thing I was disappointed about is they were all wearing that like bright neon yellow goalpost color. And I was like, when the lights went out, I was like, they really should be glowing in the dark right now.
That's a good point.
I just thought it was interesting. I was like, are they going to turn the lights off? Is this going to be like a Naomi Glow moment?
That
No.
would have been cool.
No.
It should have been more glowing involved in that segment.
There really should have. I mean, best friends, it's very psychedelic.
Yeah, their entrance video was one of the best things I've ever seen. I was dying.
Shout out to whoever made that.
Super shout out to whoever made that. I tweeted about it, and Chuck Taylor tweeted saying, like, at AEW asking them to release the full video.
Full video.
People need to see that full video because it wasn't focused on during the broadcast, and I couldn't take my eyes off of it. It was like people holding hands, and then like children holding hands, and then aliens and ghosts and dogs licking the camera. So many weird things. Awesome. My only
I was like, I definitely didn't take an edible. What is happening right now? But I remember that was the point in the show where I was like, oh, okay.
I actually think, it's funny. I didn't think about it until you just pointed out right there with the Super Smash Bros. But this whole match was kind of like the indie spotlight of the card. I mean, Jack Evans has been on the indie scene forever. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you follow indie wrestling, you're a fan of Jack Evans probably, or maybe not a fan just based on things you've heard about him. But as wrestling-wise, like he's been a mainstay in indie wrestling for so long. He's like one of the innovators of flippy wrestling, and
Flippy.
Yeah.
He's one of the flippy guys.
He's definitely one of the flippy guys. And then, Trent Beretta, even though he was in WWE for a minute, I mean, he did break out in the indies, and Chuck Taylor is a guy who was kind of like, who was like that guy who everyone thought should have broken out but hasn't yet. So I kind of like that they gave the spotlight to a bunch of guys here who probably should have been more famous 5 years ago, like, and
that's honestly what the whole mission of AEW has felt like from the beginning, is that they really support people that kind of got looked over, or that didn't get their shot, or maybe got their shot and it just didn't go their way, and that was something that I was going to bring up even in the presser, was that that's, I feel like one of the only reasons I'm there is I was looked over so many different times by the industry, and it just feels like a place to belong to those kind of people that are talented. And I think Brandy and Cody and the Bucks and everyone there at AEW, they just believe in that type of talent. They believe in second chances. They believe in redemption. They believe in giving people shots that wouldn't get them. Like, it's all about like rooting for that underdog.
Yep.
And I feel like that message just kind of resonates throughout the whole company, that it's like, we're scrappy, you know, and they're here to stay.
Absolutely. I mean, Tony Khan in the media scrum afterwards was asked about the whole, the competitive element of WWE versus, them versus WWE. And he said something along the lines of like, people are telling me that I should draw a line in the sand for my talent and be like, either we're not talking about WWE or we are. And he basically said, if competition fuels some of the people here, then I like that. Our mission statement isn't competition necessarily. We just want to put out a great wrestling product.
Yeah, that's not their mission statement. It's about inclusivity and wrestling for everyone.
But he was like,
it's about entertainment for everyone.
Absolutely. And he was like, but if there are people who are fueled by competition, a la Cody Rhodes and Dustin, more power to them. Like
exactly.
that makes sense. Obviously, if that fuels them to be the best performer they can be, then I want that best performer they can be. I think Jon Moxley is another example of that, as someone who, kind of like you mentioned, he was pushed very heavily, but I don't think it was ever in the way that he envisioned himself.
He never, I don't think he ever saw himself. I don't think he ever felt like himself when he was at WWE. If you look at the way, all the promos that he cut this weekend and all of the work he did this weekend, you're just like, wow, that is what we could have gotten, It was now you look at that and you look at his work with the Shield and you're like, oh, we just got like this watered down version of you. And like, if I'm a wrestler and I'm, considering signing with WWE, I'm looking at that going, okay, am I willing to sacrifice my creative rights basically to this character and this person that I've built and this persona that I've built in order to be what they want me to be? Do they have a greater vision than me? I don't know. Take someone like a Joey Ryan that's built this whole persona that everyone loves and is, you either love it or you hate it. I'm personally a huge fan.
Love it.
Exactly. There's just an element of not taking themselves too seriously, but for a fact they're not going to be grabbing dicks on Raw.
Yep.
Like the name says they should, but you know what I mean? Yeah. But they're not going to be doing that.
Yep.
So it just makes you go, okay, well, if he were to sign some kind of contract with the WWE, what's the new Joey Ryan going to look like? And are we going to love him as much? Probably not.
Mm-mm. And it's like Luke Harper. I think Luke Harper's a perfect example. I think that
Oh my God,
people love Luke Harper. Love Luke Harper. They think he's great. And then you see that statement that he posted when he was, when he talked about how he asked for his release recently, and the dude seems like depressed over his own talent.
Yeah.
And you go, what the hell, man? Like, he is so talented. And just the fact that just because one guy doesn't see it in him, it's like made this person depressed. And that's why I do love that it seems like there's another company coming up where people aren't going to necessarily have to be handcuffed. You are going to have an option. I don't think alternative is just for the fans. I think alternative is for the wrestlers too. That they're going to finally get to have some creative freedom here. That they're going to actually get to be professional wrestlers. The professional wrestling we grew up with wasn't scripted like it is now. You know, I mean, like the professional wrestlers were part of their character. Like their character was there.
And that's something that I love about what Cody's been doing is you feel it feels authentic. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel put on. It doesn't feel like some gimmick. It's just Cody.
Yep.
And that's what I feel like a lot of the talent that I'm seeing, with AEW is doing is they're just really embracing themselves and like that part of themselves that's in their wrestling gimmick.
I think that's why Being the Elite has been so popular.
Absolutely.
Is that they took, there are guys like Hangman and Flip who had characters, quote unquote, and they just kind of tweaked it a little bit to feel more like them on Being the Elite, and they became bigger names in wrestling.
Oh my God, yeah. I think that Being the Elite has done so much. I mean, and I think it's been a grassroots movement for this whole AEW thing, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy the comedy aspects of it as much as I enjoy just like it kind of cuts down on all of the BS, like the talking that you would see on like a 3-hour of Raw.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
absolutely.
Like and it's condensed and it feels real and it feels like there's special moments in it. And so when you see those things happen on a live event, like those kind of moments felt special to me. It felt like winks for people that are watching Being the Elite because
Absolutely.
Not everyone that was there watches that stuff. They're just there for the wrestling.
Yes.
So when those type moments get acknowledged in and get called back to, like even at pressers or at the event itself, you're just like, oh, I'm in this.
Totally.
Yeah. As a fan, I'm in this.
I actually think that is the huge difference between.
Hope that made sense.
No, that totally made
It's a lot
sense.
of talking.
No, that totally made sense to me because I feel like when I watch WWE, it's like, and I love wrestling. I love WWE, but when I watch it, sometimes I feel like it's like you're gonna like. It's like you're watching someone else's inside joke. Like you're not part of it. It's like they're telling you what you're gonna watch, type thing. And I feel like when I watch Being the Elite, it feels like it was made for me. It was like it's inside jokes that you're inside on. Like
100%.
You get where they're coming from. You get why they were made. And WWE, it's like there are inside jokes, but you're not privy to them.
No.
And the wrestlers
and it
don't
feels
really like
very,
the fans.
and it feels very like, huh?
Yeah.
Whenever it's like when you walk up to a group of friends and they're cracking jokes about something, oh, you had to be there.
Totally.
That's what a lot of the WWE jokes that get made. I'm just like, oh, I must not have been there for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that even though people were chanting "Who are you?" at Super Smash Bros,
you'll know soon.
But
if you don't know, you'll know soon.
I think ultimately it was a good decision to have them debut here, even though personally, as someone who has ADD, for real, not just someone who says that, like I think that I don't necessarily like 5-hour wrestling shows. Mm-hmm. I don't like 5-hour shows. I don't like sitting anywhere for 5 hours. So there are things maybe I would have cut, but I think it was effective in what they were trying to do, and really they want to push tag team wrestling, and so this
everyone else
is
bearing it, so
yes.
why not?
Yes, absolutely. And
push it. You have arguably the two best guys at it.
Yes,
and
I think that they had 3 surprises. Awesome Kong was for people who knew the Young Bucks in TNA and followed TNA, and was for that kind of crowd. The best friends, people who followed them in PWG, and I think that Moxley was for like the wrestling fans, for everyone. Yeah. Like that was going to get them the most press, get the most eyes on what they're doing. Of like, oh, these guys aren't fucking around.
Nope.
So I think it was a good surprise, even though if it were up to me, I probably would maybe have not done it just to shorten the show a little bit. Mm-hmm. But that's just nitpicking altogether.
It really does feel like nitpicking.
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I know. But if I sit here and I just say positive things for an hour about this company, everyone's like, oh, yeah, co-opted. They gave you free seats, so you're saying good things about them. So I have to show a little bit of nitpicking comments. Next match was Aja Kong versus Yuka Sakazaki and Emi Sakura versus Hikaru Shida, Raiho, and Ryo Mizunami. I hope I got all those right.
Good job.
Probably,
I have no idea.
I probably didn't.
I can
trust
barely
me.
read my sushi menu, so that was talented.
And I think that these six people, they had probably the hardest job on the whole show, because I think that out of everyone on the show, they
had to perform the hardest because they weren't as known. And so the pop wasn't big when they came out, but by the end of the match, the whole crowd was chanting, "This is wrestling." And to me, that was such a powerful moment and speaks to the level of talent that AEW is bringing in.
Yeah, I get a lot of shit on Twitter not all the time, but sometimes, because I don't watch the Joshi promotions, like the Japanese women's promotions. And I've sometimes said, I think New Japan should have women's wrestling too. And they're like, well, they have their own federation, so go watch those. But they're not as popular, so it's hard to kind of schedule them in watching wise. But
you only have so many hours in a day.
Exactly.
And he has to sleep.
Thank you. And I have dogs to love. I have a girlfriend that I have to love as well. So it's only so much time in the day, like you said. But I do think that, like you said, they did a great job of getting the crowd by the end of the match.
Absolutely.
My girlfriend who was there, she was like, it was one of her favorite matches of the whole show, and she didn't know who any of them were.
No.
I thought the Freddie Mercury girl, I think it was Emi Sakura, was hilarious. I thought she was so good.
And that's an element of Japanese wrestling that I feel like needs to be more integrated over here. It's just the comedy aspect of it. There were moments of it. And I feel like AEW is doing a much better job at having those moments in matches where they feel authentic, not forced, and but it still doesn't mess up the flow of the athleticism. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah, totally, yeah. No, I think that the from what I see in a lot of the Japanese promotions, and I don't watch every single one of them, but I love the comedy stuff they're able to.
They're just as athletic as they are entertaining.
Yes, absolutely, and I think that they did a good job of showcasing multiple people at once. They had I obviously was familiar with Aja Kong from her, she's a legendary women's wrestler. But I think they did a good job of showing what each woman in this match is capable. Yeah,
yep.
Which isn't easy with the amount of time they had, and just trying to get everyone in. But also, it's kind of like a comedy show. I think Double or Nothing was similar in the effect of when you go to a comedy show, it's easier to make people It's easier for the comedian to make people laugh, kinda, because they're there knowing they're gonna laugh.
Yeah.
And I think here it was everyone was in there with an open mind, all right, I don't know what's going on, but I trust these guys to show me something cool, so let's do it.
Yeah.
And I think
if they were put on this card, they were put here for a reason.
Yes, exactly.
That kind of thing.
Yes.
So I think the crowd was receptive to it. But honestly, the chills I got listening to the crowd start chanting, "This is wrestling," and I'm like, oh, how cool must it be to be in the ring right now? For those
even if they don't understand what people are saying in the crowd.
They're like, exactly. They're like, I need a translator, but they sound excited. They sound like they're enjoying this.
I think they're like it. I think
we're
good guys.
Yeah, exactly. So I really enjoyed it.
I hope we see at some point Aja Kong versus Awesome Kong.
Oh my God!
I think
Battle of the Kongs would be amazing.
I was listening to Busted Open Radio, and it was Bully Ray who said something along the line. He said that he put that idea out there.
It would be like the Mountain versus the Hound.
Yeah,
it really
totally
would. I would enjoy that a lot.
When I was listening to Busted
if that's not their outfits for that night, I give up, honestly.
She's got to come out with
enjoy that creative.
Come out with the helmet that she has to take off to look like a zombie. I definitely want to see that match down the line. I think that when they go face to face, it'll be a cool moment. I think when I was listening to Busted Open, they said something about they've only wrestled once against each other. It was 15 years ago or something like that. Yeah, that is a crime because they're both awesome. Well, no pun intended on that one. But our next up was Cody versus Dustin Rhodes, and
to me, this was the match of the night.
You literally just took the words out of my mouth. I was gonna say the exact same thing.
And it was just such beautiful storytelling. And I teared up, and I'm not just saying that because I was PMSing. I legitimately teared up because it was such good story. It was powerful storytelling, and it was just I can't remember the last time a wrestling match moved me like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, last year at All In, Cody's match was my favorite because it felt like an old school wrestling match. It had the NWA title. It had a Rhodes in the match.
Him getting his dad's title, but
all that stuff.
It felt special.
Yeah.
This was just a different level.
Yes, and it felt like it had so much more emotion in this match. I felt like Nick Aldis, did a great job last year at All In, but the emotional factor was Cody winning.
I think that was some of the best wrestling Aldis has done in his career.
I would say 100%.
And I honestly, I enjoyed them again at NWA 70, and not just because they, kicked my husband in the face.
But I felt like there was less emotion in the match. The emotion was Cody winning his dad's title.
Yeah.
This one had so much more
many
emotion.
Levels.
Yeah, from because of their dad, because of their history, because of their families, kind of like him having strife with Dustin growing up. All those things kind of coming to a head because they were allowed to have blood in the match, because of so many different things that it just raised the stakes so much, and you couldn't not get into it. Like, it was impossible.
I was in it the minute Dustin came to the presser with the Dusty's favorite shirt on. The minute that happened, I was like, oh, shit just got personal. Personal. Like, I was already excited for that match. But I think they just took it to a whole different level. And, Brandy did a great job. I loved DDP coming out to wrangle her and carry her. I was like, oh, the overhead pressing's really coming in handy. Yeah, it was just a great match and great storytelling from top to bottom.
I've been wondering if DDP is going to be an authority figure of some sort in AEW when they have their TV show. He was part of All In. Yeah. Now he was here kind of like taking Brandy away, which she's like one of the higher ups there. So you would think he has to have some say in AEW to be able to do that.
Exactly. You can't come out and spank your boss and take her backstage because you're mad at her.
Exactly.
He has to have some kind of role.
I'm wondering.
I'm hoping.
I love DDP, so I'm hoping.
Same.
And just man, that blood was intense. My girlfriend, she took a picture because she was in the second row, and you could just see
it.
You could see
it every time. Every time they would put it on the big screen, I was like, oh, and I'm in the fifth row, and I can see it. When you can physically see the drops of blood, gushing out, I was like, please tell me that's a squib or something. I was like, please tell me that it's not real, because holy shit, otherwise someone needs to go check on him.
My girlfriend showed her dad, and he was like, well, that's not real blood, Erica.
Oh.
And she's like, no, it was. I was right there. And he was like, no. And then she had to bring me over to explain that it was real blood.
Oh. It was real.
Yeah, he said in the.
That's all I could tweet. Even is I was like, I'm not trying to live tweet the entire event and ruin it for anyone that's not watching it live, but holy shit, that's a lot of blood. And it was just barf face, barf face, barf face. I was not prepared for that, but honestly, it turned Cody's hair pink.
Oh, I know, and it looked pretty cool when Cody's hair turned pink. I love that Cody didn't even go wash it out either. He finished the rest of the show behind the scenes, just covered in blood still.
Yeah, of course.
Very wrestler thing to do. I love it.
Yeah. What's more credible than having your own brother's blood in your hair?
The guy calling the shots just walking around covered in blood. That's pretty.
Yep.
It's pretty badass. Dustin said during the media scrum that the reason it looked so intense is because he was also so sweaty, and he thinks that the blood mixing with the sweat and the paint just kind of made it look more like it was gushing.
Oh yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, I think that also I think that Dustin did a great job of showing that he was undervalued. I think that, yes, obviously people love Goldust. He's one of the most famous WWE characters to come in a long time. But I think that near the end of his run, past couple of years, he really was only a comedy guy. I mean, he was used for comedic purposes.
It comes back to what I was saying, where it's you can have someone that's super talented be in the WWE, but they're not going to have the creative say in what happens to their character, and what happens to their role in the company. And it just goes to show makes you wonder how much other talent we've missed out on.
Yep.
Because they just weren't given a shot.
I think about that all the time. I think about it now, when I'm doing the recap show with Roca, and he'll be harping on someone, and I say to him, you realize
that's just how they're booked.
That's what I try and tell him all the time.
Exactly. That's how they're booked. That's who they're told to be.
Yes. He roasts the Iconics always, and I'm dude, they can go.
Don't roast my girls.
Thank you. And I always try to tell them, no, they can go. It's just this is the way they're told to portray their characters right now. It was like Carmella. He used to do the same thing to Carmella, and then when Carmella became a face, he was like, oh, Carmella's actually good. And I'm
hey, Roca, you hate the things that are heel and you like the things that are face?
Good.
It's working.
Yeah.
But bottom line is it just makes you wonder how many how many people that we've missed out on appreciating them during their time at WWE because they weren't given a shot.
I mean, Cody Rhodes. I distinctly
It's like let him take the training wheels off, and we'll see what can happen. And I watching what Cody Rhodes was, and I enjoyed him at WWE, but watching what he was there and seeing what he's built for himself at AEW,
it's uncomparable. It's like night and day.
Night and day, and you're just like, wow. Like, they were hiding this star.
Yep.
That's insane.
That's insane. And I remember at the time, I distinctly remember when he asked for his release. My dad, loves wrestling. I talk to him about wrestling all the time. And I remember on my show saying, like, man, Cody could have been the quarterback. If they had given him that opportunity, Cody could have been the guy.
But
and
they
I
went
remember,
with butt fumble guy instead,
Totally. And my dad every time going, like, no, not Cody Rhodes, no. Yeah. And people going like, you're crazy. Like, Cody Rhodes couldn't have been the man. Like, no, Cody Rhodes could have been the guy if they had given him the opportunity, and they never did. And this kind of stuff is proof that they were making a bad decision. And I think that all the time when I look at the roster, I go, God, if they let that person do what I know they could do, it'd be over. They'd be huge stars. I mean, if they let Matt Riddle come onto the main roster and do what he's done everywhere else, he'll be a superstar, I
have a feel, but if you're one of those guys that's sitting down at NXT and you're at the top of the NXT food chain and you're looking at what's happening to Raw right now, like, are you praying to God you don't get called up? Like, do you really want to go?
It just depends, it depends on what you want. It depends on what your end game is more. Is it money or is it creative freedom? If it's feeling more creatively fulfilled, then no, you'd want to stay in NXT, obviously. But I think if money is your ultimate goal, then you want to go on the main roster.
I've always said, though, stick to who you are, and the money will find you. Like, if you are consistent with who you are and you're authentic with who you are, those opportunities will come your way. They just have to find you a different way.
It's true.
It may not be the most conventional way, and it may not be the way you thought it would happen, but it'll come.
Yep.
And that's something that I preach to, like, anyone is, even when I'm, like, teaching classes with, like, sports media stuff, is they're like, what's your most important advice? And I'm like, authenticity.
It's true.
Being real.
You have to be yourself. If you're not yourself, then why are you even doing it? And I think that that's honestly why I enjoy this show so much, is that these people were all themselves. Well, the character that you wanted from them. It felt like extensions of themselves. So a great match. I loved the fact that Cody and Dustin are going to team together again now against the Young Bucks. That would be an awesome match. I love when Cody and Dustin teamed together. I thought they were great as a tag team. So I'm really excited for that. We also had the Bret Hart title presentation that came after that. We're getting low on time, so I won't spend too much time on that one. But I liked they got Bret Hart there. It was definitely one of those firing a shot kind of like, oh, we got Bret Hart. He hates Vince McMahon, so we got Bret Hart. And I thought they did a good job of showcasing some of the other talent who you might not have seen if you didn't watch the pre-show. MJF was the star of the pre-show and was definitely the star of this segment. He is so good.
He's so good at being an asshole.
He is so good at being an asshole. He is the biggest asshole, and I love it.
I tweeted something along the lines of, MJF looks like if a can of Axe body spray had a baby with Tim Tebow. He wasn't a fan of that. But like I really thoroughly enjoyed that segment and what they made. They made moments out of like what could have just been a throwaway segment and like, here's the belts, and it was something else.
Yes, absolutely. And then they
everything in the show was done deliberately to get talent over to people that may not know them yet.
It was that, and to start the building blocks of like what's going to be their initial feud. So I think that MJF and Hangman is a great one, because as much as you can see that they see Hangman as one of their top faces, it's clear they see MJF as one of their top heels. I mean, he's untouchable right now.
And they've done such a great job of building all that behind the scenes too, on the road to Double or Nothing and being the Elite. So.
Yes. Oh, it's funny how MJF has become one of the best parts of being the Elite. He's so good on there. I mean, all the stuff with Cody and Brandy, and he was trying to feed the dog a brownie last week or whatever. He is so funny. I honestly feel like
such a dick.
When they get on TNT, I feel like he's going to be someone who has a chance to be a breakout star. I feel like I definitely feel that way. Okay, so then next was the Young Bucks versus Lucha Bros, and man, what a match! I think that
I looked back at some of those spots and I was like, I don't even know how they did that. Like, it's not physically possible from the laws of gravity. and from just like general laws of physics, how they were able to pull off some of those moves. And every time I don't think that I can be impressed anymore with them, somehow it happens.
Absolutely. There was that one spot in the match, and I'm going to probably totally botch explaining it, but when Phoenix had, was holding hands with Matt, and then he like ran up to the top rope, kicked Matt in the face, and then bounced off the top rope.
That's exactly the one where I was like, if you asked me to draw a diagram of how that happened.
Nope, couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
I barely was able to explain it just now when I was trying, and then he finished it with the Hurricane Rana.
But it's so funny. I was like, yeah, he did the thing, and then he did the thing, and then he did the other thing, and yeah, that's exactly how I would, yeah.
I was sitting next to Bill Apter during the show.
I love him.
He's great, and honestly, I could sit, after doing this at Double or Nothing, I could sit next to Bill Apter for every show. It was so entertaining to get his insight on everything, and the dude has watched a lot of wrestling. I mean, he has watched so much wrestling, and even he was sitting there going, I've never seen some of these spots. I've never seen someone do that. Specifically that one. He was like in amazement. He was behind me. I could just hear his voice going like, whoa, what? I've never seen that.
Isn't it cool to hear someone that thinks they've seen everything be proven wrong?
I love it. I love it. That's why I remember it so vividly, is because I was like, man, even Bill Apter is impressed. Like, and Bill Apter's seen a lot of wrestling for decades and decades and decades up close in front of the ring, and I think that, and even if there were a lot of near falls in this match, I think that, the final 3 matches really did play into like what I think are going to be the building blocks of AEW. Is like, first we had an old school wrestling match, then we had an indie style wrestling match, and then we had like an awesome main event, what you'd want to see from a main event in a wrestling show. And so I loved it. And I think that, with the way, tag team wrestling has been so botched in WWE and just so watered down, so poorly booked, that it was cool to see.
You just couldn't care less about it, honestly.
Yes. And to see like 2 teams just turn it out like that, it was like, this is what I want to see more often. They in their press conference for Double or Nothing, they basically said that they want to have the best tag team division in all of professional wrestling. And I think
you're already there.
Yeah.
I mean, don't stop, but you're already there.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, someone's walking in. Do I need to be done now? I saw someone walking in. Guess not. Guess I don't need to be done yet. I really think that, the Young Bucks needed a big win here. I think that they needed a time to showcase what they can do. And I also feel like people love giving the Young Bucks crap for not telling a quote-unquote story in the ring. But I thought the story in this match was very evident. They told a
story. It's like, how did their necks survive that? That's the story. How they're genetic freaks and able to survive some of the beatings they take.
Totally. And I also felt like they did a good job of showing that they haven't wrestled for a long time. I think they were trying to get across that they weren't on the same page the whole time. And it was like, the match was the Young Bucks getting back on the same page and being like the best tag team that they are able to be. So I like that altogether, and I'm looking forward to when they have like an actual tag team title belts, because they can't have the AAA tag titles as their main tag titles for very long. I feel like All Out they'll have the women's and the tag team titles.
I think the belts, the titles will keep coming.
Yeah,
it just starts small.
Yeah, start small for sure.
They're like, we kind of blew our budget on Pyro, so the titles are going to have to take a side.
I hope that they have Pyro on the show like every week, that it's not just for pay-per-views. It adds such a cool element to the show.
It really does.
It really does.
And I'm not just saying that because I had to use my inhaler like 4 times because I was so close to it. But it really does add something.
Yeah, it was funny that it was like, we're the first... we got the first sensory room. It's like, you're going to have to go to the sensory room with all the pyro that's going on.
Yeah. I love that they have that initiative, though. As someone that's done a lot of work, with children with autism, like, it's such a cool thing that they, my mom works with a lot of children with autism with the school district, and that's like the one thing that whenever it's in like their goodie box for behaving, they all want wrestling stuff.
Really?
Oh yeah.
That's cool.
Oh yeah. So I'm constantly hitting up my friends, being like, hey, can you get me this? Can you get me this? Because the kids love it. Like, you're their favorite, and so like, whenever they go to reach in, it's always wrestling things that they go for. So those sensory rooms, like, it's such a cool initiative that it's such a big part of what they're doing.
Yeah, I think it's very smart, some of the stuff they're doing. I think they did a good job.
It goes along with their message that wrestling for all.
Absolutely. I think that it was smart to start off the show with family. Like, they had 100%. The family singing, they talked about the sensory stuff. So I think there was a lot of calculated things that were very subtle but smart to do regardless. And I think
they didn't feel contrived.
No, it never felt like it was being done
to like
what's the for brownie points. It felt like it was coming from a genuine place, you know. Okay, last the main event, we had Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho. Jericho wins clean with the Judas effect, that new elbow thing he's doing. I think I thought Chris Jericho was going to win. I thought it from the beginning. I don't think they got that move over enough to end it with that, though. It was very like, wait, it's over? Like, that after this great show? Like, that was the ending? Even the great match. You go, this is a great match, but it ended so suddenly and without much fanfare. But at the same time, I think that they're
fanfare, honestly, but that's how I knew something else was going to happen.
Me too.
You know what I mean?
They had to end on a high note.
They had to end on a high note, and it's like, if they had such a crazy finish, how would Moxley have impacted that?
Agreed.
Or would it have diminished his return? You know, so I think that everything was done, everything was done the way it was supposed to be done.
Agreed. I think that, I guess the WWE fan in me is so conditioned to being like, well, I mean, Moxley could have just distracted Kenny Omega and then Jericho wins, but clearly they wanted to drive home the fact that they're not going to have screwy finishes like that. They're going to have all clean finishes, which you can't make that last forever.
You know what's funny to me is like watching Mox come out, I was like, oh, this is the feeling that WWE wanted you to have when they brought out Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Like, they wanted you to be this excited. And I'm like, granted, I watched that at home. I just didn't feel it.
I think they also wanted you to feel that excited when Dean Ambrose came back from his injury a few months ago.
Didn't feel it.
And you just didn't have that. Like, it was cool, but it was like, whatever, you know?
Yeah, you're like, oh, good for him.
Yeah, exactly. And this time you were like, oh, this is different because this is what he wants to be.
Yeah.
Like this, he clearly left a high-paying job where he was making lots of money, could have coasted forever until he retired, and it was like, no, he wants something more. It just goes to show
you, job security is not as important as creative freedom when you've been doing it for so long, because if you're not happy doing what you're doing, what are you doing it for?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I think that, I think that is why I enjoyed it so much, is like, that like, because if you were aware of Jon Moxley before he became Dean Ambrose, and I'm not going to front like I was some giant fan of his, but I watched the cool promos that would be on the internet at the time, and it was like this electric person where you like, this guy is...
He's off the rails.
Yeah, like this guy is going to kill someone, And I shouldn't say never, because I think at the beginning there
were glimmers of it.
Yes,
but
and it seemed like it
just got more and more watered down.
Well, I think the more popular the Shield became, the less they wanted him to be like that, because they saw the Shield as like, this is our group that we're going to say this was the future. Like, they came in, they changed the game, and I think that because of that, it just makes
you feel bad for him though, because you're like, how many days did he get up? Like, time to make the donuts.
Yep.
Like, time to go be that guy.
Yep.
When he just really wanted to do this.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because it's not that much different yet, but
it will be.
It's enough to where you go, this is cool. This is pretty cool.
I don't know. I was watching him basically just manhandle Omega. Like, he carried him down the aisle right next to me, and I was just like, oh my God, this is savage. This is savage. It just felt different.
I liked when the broadcast went off the air too, how happy he was to use his middle finger.
Yeah.
It was like he was glowing. He was so happy that he was able to finally use a middle finger in professional wrestling again. He was like, yeah, fuck yeah. And so I think that
once more for good measure. Yeah, exactly.
I do think that having Moxley on the show was important. I think that they needed one big moment at the end of the show to drive home the fact that, like, not only are the fans happy about this, but the industry is happy about this too. And I think even showing the backstage, like, quote unquote gorilla position or whatever you want to call it, on Being the Elite this week, they showed the Young Bucks and Cody and all those guys reacting to Moxley's entrance and how happy they were backstage. Like, yeah, we nailed it, and you could see the veterans that are pumped on it, and it just felt like something was happening. And I think that the combining the feeling of there being something happening with, like, these guys are cool is so important. I think that that's one of the reasons wrestling has become less popular, is the cool factor. Like, I know that WWF is making tons of money. WWE is making tons of money. They're incredibly successful, but I think they've lost that cool factor. I don't think there's anyone that goes like, oh, WWE is cool, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that that's important to make.
I don't even look at their T-shirt drop and think that. So shout out to Pro Wrestling Tees.
We've discussed this before. That
you and I go back and forth all the time where I'm like, why?
Dude.
Why did they need I want the man shirt so bad. I don't want the dumb logo on it.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
So.
The logo's down here, and it's the worst. And that new Brock Party one is ugly.
Yeah, it's like, why don't you put your Twitter handle on it while you're at it? You know? Really nail home that, like, JV squad look. It's just not, no.
No, it's so bad. It's so bad. I all the time feel that way when I'm like, I can't buy that shirt. I want to buy that shirt, but I can't. I know we're on the same page here with that one. All right, well, I'm running out of time here. I think I've already gone over. So I got to end it here. Overall, though, you liked the show? You already said that, right? You liked it overall?
I'm so pumped. I'm going to be working in Jacksonville with them.
Oh, cool.
For Fight for the Fallen.
Great.
So I'm pretty pumped about that.
Because that's not connected to StarCast, so there's not a StarCast thing for that, so that's different than the ones you. That's good news, right?
That's like a thing.
Great.
I'm booked for that.
Yeah.
And I mean, trying to like act like I've been there before, but I haven't been there before, and it's a really cool feeling.
Hell yeah.
So
dude.
I'm pumped to be a part of that, and then praying to God that I get booked on something for All In 2.
Cody, Brandy, get her on board. What are you guys doing? Come on. What are you guys doing here?
You just want to be a part of it because it's something special, and they make you feel like you're included.
Yes.
And I feel like that's the way they make anyone they come in contact with, whether they're fans, whether they're employees. You know, they just make everyone feel like you're a part of this.
Absolutely.
You're a part of something that we may never see happen again in wrestling. In
Absolutely.
our lifetime.
Absolutely. And that's why I am rooting for All Elite Wrestling. I mean, I if they can make a change, great, because a change is needed.
Yeah, if you can make other people better themselves, isn't that what you want?
Yeah, elevate the game. That's what I want to see.
Yes.
I want wrestling to
Raise
be
the
elevated.
bar.
Yeah, because I have been saying, even before the TNT show got announced, I have been saying that I feel like in a year from now, well, now it'll be less than a year, so 8 months from now, 6 months, 8 months from now, I feel like wrestling is going to be in a very different place than it's at right now.
I am really excited to see where that is.
Me too. It's with the Fox thing and the TNT thing for AEW, I really feel like we're on the cusp of like cool wrestling again.
Let the games begin.
Fingers crossed. All right, Jen, where can people find you on the internet?
At Jennifer Sturger. That's all my socials. Instagram, Twitter, you name it. And hopefully I'll see you guys at Jacksonville at Fight for the Fallen.
Fight for the Fallen.
Those tickets are going on sale soon.
Like soon.
Yes.
I think Fighter Fest
is tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then the other tickets.
And then Fight for the Fallen.
Fight for the Fallen.
Make sure you guys keep your eyes out for that. Jacksonville. Sturger's going to be there. You got to go. Decker, Jennifer Decker, Sturger. Same thing.
Whatever.
You know who I'm talking about. And you can check out ProWrestlingSheet.com, where we post all the top stories throughout the week, at Wrestling Sheet on social media, youtube.com/C/Wrestling Sheet. Make sure you guys like, subscribe while you're there. And if you want to listen to the podcast only, make sure you go Google. Make sure you look at all the major podcast platforms. Just search Wrestling Sheet Radio. Okay, that's it. We're done. Officially tapping out for now. Until next time, stay out of the dirt and keep your eye on the sheet.
ProWrestlingSheet.com